Well, now that the House of Representatives has a speaker, Congress is back to work. And with government funding set to expire November the 7th, spending negotiations have become a top priority for Speaker Johnson and his Republican colleagues. Now, conservatives agree that continuing resolutions for stopgap funding are not ideal, but we've only got less than about 3 weeks, and there's no way to get the appropriations done, not within that time frame. So what is the way forward? Joining me now to talk about this, Mississippi Congressman Michael Guest. He is a member of the House Appropriations Committee, so he should know. Congressman Guest represents the 3rd Congressional District. Congressman Guest, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Well, thank you. And look, I want to tell you how excited I am that Mike Johnson is our new Speaker of the House. He is a humble, godly man. You contrast him with our last Democrat Speaker of the House. You have someone who is a man of faith. He's pro-life, believes in traditional family values. He values the Constitution, believes in limited government, rule of law. He is going to be an incredible speaker, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to have voted for him and to serve under his leadership.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we're going to see some great things ahead. And one of those things, he's already involved in the negotiations involving government funding. So what do we know? What are we looking at in terms of addressing the November 17th government funding issue?
Well, I have to say that Mike has really hit the ground running. 2 days as Speaker. Yesterday, he was able to get to the floor a resolution supporting Israel and condemning Hamas. Today, his second day as Speaker, we passed one of our 12 appropriations bills, the Energy and Water Bill. And so now we've seen that the House of Representatives has passed 5 of the 12 spending bills. We know that our friends in the Senate have yet to pass a single spending bill out of their entire body. But we have a very aggressive timetable. I think Steve Scalise mentioned that just a few moments ago on your show. That Mike will work to see that all appropriations bills are brought to the floor in the next 3 weeks. But we will have to address the fact that government funding will run out. Even if the House is able to pass all the appropriations bills, we won't have time to marry the House bill with the Senate bills and get those bills to the President's desk. So it will necessitate at some point a short-term continuing resolution to give us time to finish the work on that process.
Michael, I want to come back to that short-term stopgap measure, but I want to go back to something you said a moment ago. The Senate has not yet passed any of their appropriations bills out of the chamber. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they have not been absent a leader, maybe an effective leader, but not absent a leader. Chuck Schumer's running the Senate over there. They've not yet passed a single appropriations bill?
That's correct. And historically, the last several years, that's what you see. The Senate does not pass appropriation bills out of the entire Senate. They will try to use the committee markup, the bills as they come out of committee to negotiate with the House. But they have yet to pass one. The House has taken up 6. We've passed 5 of the 6. And the ag bill, we were unable to get across the finish line. We will make changes to that, and we will renegotiate and bring that before the House for a full vote again. But we've been able to pass almost half of the appropriation bills in the House. And again, that includes the fact that we had the debt ceiling negotiations where we were unable to mark those bills up because we didn't know the spending number. And then the 3 weeks that we've lost legislative time as we were electing Mike Johnson to be our next Speaker.
Well, but it appears that maybe the media just missed that aspect because I haven't seen them reporting on the fact that the Senate's done nothing.
Well, and you're exactly right. The House is often blamed for things when we are actually moving. I mean, we are much further along under Republican leadership than we ever were when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker. We were never this far along when Democrats controlled this chamber. And so even with the chaos that we've seen over the last several weeks, Republicans are working hard to honor the promise that we made to the American public, which is we want to get back to regular order. We want to pass 12 individual spending bills. We don't want to get jammed with an omnibus bill, which is what we've seen time and time again.
So let's go to that continuing resolution, short-term spending gap. Before all of this kind of blew up, there had been a proposed continuing resolution, short-term funding that actually dialed back government spending, if I recall correctly, about 8%. It dealt with border security issues. Are we going to see something like that again?
I hope so. I hope that Mike will look at what Republicans offered before. Again, you talk about the fact that it had border security, that there was a debt commission which would look at long-term spending, what we can do to bring that spending curve down. And it also had a 30% across the board spending cut that excluded programs. Of course, this dealt only with discretionary spending, not mandatory. But if you take out defense and veterans, it was and Homeland, it was a 30% across the board cut. I hope that Mike will offer something like that again, allow us the opportunity to vote on that, and then we can send it to the Senate and let the Senate respond as to whether or not they plan to keep the government open or not.
So do you think you'll be able to get that type of support among your Republican colleagues in the House for a measure like that?
I do. We were very close last time under Speaker McCarthy, came just a few votes short. I will tell you that no Democrat in this chamber will support that. So we as Republicans are going to have to carry that exclusively.
I thought it was a good proposal. I mean, you're dialing back spending, you're addressing the border. And if I'm not mistaken, Speaker Johnson announced yesterday that there would be a bipartisan debt committee that will be looking at debt.
He did. He announced that yesterday from the roster and after he had been sworn in. But you're exactly right. As far as this is the first time since I've been in Congress where we actually propose legislation in a CR to cut spending. Every other time we've either increased spending or we've left spending flat. Right. This would have been a decrease in spending. This is something that the American public wants to see Congress do.
I hope it gets teed up again. Congressman Michael Guest, thanks so much for joining us today. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you letting me be on.